All right, welcome in, everybody. I'm Lando from the Lando Show, and today we have a little bit of breaking news from Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News, as you can see right here. I guess this must have dropped right as we were going or preparing for the live show earlier today. About 2:55 p.m. is when he posted this tweet here. Trevon Diggs says his goal is to return in week 1 of the 2025 season. There's a lot to unpack with this. So where I want to start is just by the sports below the surface angle here, right? The sports psychology. This makes sense for him and his mind, his team, behind the scenes, getting him to think this way. Hey, let's shoot for the stars, right? And just maybe worst case scenario, we land on the moon. Okay, so let's set our goals as high as we possibly can within relative reason, and let's see what we can do. The power of the mind. I mean, most people, the human element of sport gets removed far too often from the equation as fans or media members. We don't necessarily think about what's happening in the mind of the athlete, right? On the field. But now, in this particular situation, this is the second significant knee injury for Trevon Diggs in 3 years. A chondral tissue graft. A literal graft. Think about that, okay? It's taking a piece or a part from somewhere else and placing it into your knee and trying to have it almost regeneratively heal itself. In my head, right? Modern medicine, it's difficult to like traditional wisdom, conventional wisdom would suggest maybe an 8 to 10 month time frame on this. Modern medicine, though, with an elite athlete, an all-world athlete, one on a $97 million contract extension, by the way. The money side of things has to play in here, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But just thinking about the psychology. Trevon Diggs, maybe he took that Jerry Jones's challenge to him seriously. And maybe that is a realistic goal for him. But what I will say, personally, then this is speculation, okay? So don't take this as fact. Goal does not mean guarantee, obviously, okay? That's great that he's setting his sights, his targets high, setting high expectations for himself, seeing what he can't accomplish. Let's push it and see what we can do here. I respect that. For the Cowboys specifically, here's what I don't want to happen. Obviously, I want Trevon Diggs to play and to be right. But 2 significant knee injuries, right? A chondral tissue graft this year in 2025, January of this season, or of this calendar year. And 2 years ago, an ACL reconstruction. That's a lot of time away from the actual competitive turf or grass. Football plays, football things happening. It's a lot of time away from the film room, right? And from your teammates. And I know that weighs on you. So I want him to be right. And I understand his desire to set these lofty goals, these lofty expectations to get back as soon as possible. But I just hope that it's not an overly optimistic perspective here. There's 2 things that I don't want to happen. I don't want him to try to return too soon, because not that this, ultimately matters, but I'm sure in some capacity, it's a factor. If we look at overthecap.com, this tab right here in the middle where my cursor is, the per game roster bonus, he can earn up to an extra $1 million this season if he plays all 17 games. I don't know what the math is, whatever 1 million divided by 17 would be. That's how much he's making. That's a participation bonus per game. So that maybe that's a little bit of it. But where another piece of the financial situation is that cap number, $12 million this season. Okay, with $9 million of it guaranteed. That trigger actually occurred on the 5th day of the new league year. It was actually an injury guarantee. So that was kind of interesting in itself. But what's really important with this contract situation, the Cowboys technically could have gotten out of this contract this year. They could have cut Trevon Diggs if they truly didn't believe that he was fully dialed in. All right, let's make sure we remember what Jerry Jones said, and we'll continue with this one. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to show y'all a second ago. This was the pre-draft interview. Jerry Jones said this from John Machota of The Athletic. Jerry Jones on when Cowboys cornerback Trevon Diggs could return. We have a good idea. He's working hard. That's very important because if he will be good and diligent in his rehab process, then he'll get back quicker. And when he does get back, he'll be sounder. If he has not worked as hard, he is more subject to injury. He's learned that one time. So I assume that Jerry Jones is referring to his ACL rehabilitation, in which he apparently didn't attack it as hard as he could have or should have. And, speculation again, but it's fair to assume, take it a step further and suggest, well, okay, perhaps that's the reason for degenerative issues in your knee yet again in 2024. Could be. I don't know. But that's what Jerry Jones is getting at here. He didn't attack his injury and his rehab hard enough. He's learned that one time. I have a lot of hope that this actual rehab and experience from the time before is really helping him out, and I think it is. It's worth noting also, Coach Schottenheimer said the same thing. He indicated that all signs were positive and that Trevon was working hard and that he has been in communication and that the arrow seems to be pointed up in the right direction. Okay. Hopeful for the season, and Trevon is going to be good sooner rather than later. That's what Shotty was mentioning a time or two this offseason. But back to the financials, okay? What we see over here in red, and let me make this bigger. The red figure on the right side, where you see that $11 million, that would have been the dead money had the Cowboys elected to cut him this year, post June 1. Spread it out over 2 years instead of one. And that's the figure that you're looking at. Okay, but next year, so 2026, that's when this really gets interesting for the Cowboys. They can, we're talking about most of his guarantees being completely eliminated from this contract. But he's got performance bonuses and, obviously roster bonuses that can guarantee him up to 97. Only 33 of the 97 million was fully guaranteed. So the Cowboys will have decisions to make. And so for what I mean with the financials playing a part in this is Trevon Diggs, in his mind, understands what he might be up against if things don't go well yet again this season. The Cowboys will not. Let me scroll down here because this is where it gets a little bit, fiscally, that slope gets a little more slippery for the Cowboys, for both sides, really. Okay, so 2026, $15 million for Trevon Diggs to participate on your roster. 2027, $20 million, 2028, $21 million. Now, even through 2028, this is, when you think about Jordan Lewis is making $10 million right now as a slot corner. But the highest paid corners in the league are making 30, outside guys like Trevon Diggs. That's still a very cheap contract. Or it's cheap to have a difference-making player, which Trevon Diggs, for the most part, has been as a in coverage. Okay. There's some questions about, he's not a guy that's just eager to fill gaps and run support, right? And meet. Anyway, 2026, that's a $15 million decision for the Cowboys. They can basically pay him 15 to be here, or they can pay $2 million for him not to be there. $15 million in cap savings if they were to post June 1 cut him. It's a lot of cap space. When the highest paid corner or slot corner in the league right now is making 10 per year, Jordan Lewis, the Jags. Okay, so what I don't want to happen is for Trevon Diggs to rush this, and for the Cowboys also subsequently to use this optimism, because whether or not he's actually targeting week 1 and whether or not he's actually suiting up week 1 means nothing to me as far as when will Trevon Diggs actually be Trevon Diggs again. It means nothing to me, and it shouldn't mean anything to the Cowboys. So don't let that deter you. I don't want this whether it's cautious optimism, whether it's overly optimistic, or whether it's over optimism. In my head, the point that I really want to make here is there's so much volatility at the cornerback position right now for the Cowboys. I would argue outside of defensive tackle, one technique, it's the biggest question mark on the roster. Yes, I mean over running back. Yes, I mean over left tackle. And there are very specific reasons as to why that is. The value of the left tackle, my guy Vach Lombardi helped me out with this project last week, is not what it used to be. And the middle of the offensive line is more important now than it ever has been. Or that pendulum swinging back in favor of physicality and controlling the middle because of defensive coordinators weaponizing their best talent, finding mismatches. Gone are the days of entrenching your premier pass rusher on the left side, the quarterback's blind side. Most quarterbacks are right-handed, right? That's where all that stuff came from. It's different now. Defensive coordinators have brought their own set of boxing gloves to the ring, and they are now dictating matchups. They are now dictating chaos, havoc, confusion, misdirection, right? Rolled coverages, all those things. It's a changed game. The NFL is an ever-evolving league. There are too many questions, even still, despite what this report from Calvin Watkins says, despite how Trevon Diggs feels. A lot, by the way, guys, a lot can happen between now. There's still about 3 months before the season begins. There's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. The human body is a very complex entity. Things happen. Setbacks happen. Now, I want to knock on wood when I say that. I don't wish that upon anyone. Definitely not Trevon Diggs. I'm rooting for him. I want to see him prove Jerry Jones wrong. I want to see him prove, actually, the Jones is right with their $97 million contract extension investment into him. I want to see him meet the critics. Where the words are spewing out of their mouth. Fair or unfair? But I don't want the Cowboys to use this as an excuse to be cheap and to continue doing their due diligence with guys that are openly available on the cornerback market. Jaire Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, my personal preference, Asante Samuel Jr. We've discussed all of them. CowboysCountry.com and on my YouTube channel. I appreciate if you guys would check those out. The cornerback conundrum, as well as the cornerback contingency. Athlon Sports, CowboysCountry.com, Landon Holyfield, if you type those things in. We can actually discuss them right now if you want to. Let's just do that. I don't like to ask you guys to go and do things. I'll just do it since we're all here. Nobody has to do any extra clicking or searching or whatever. Well, there's so much competing for our attention these days. So I apologize for even, that's on me. But here we go. Stephon Gilmore is still out there. Okay, that's the cornerback contingency. The cornerback conundrum is the situation with DaRon Bland, working him at the nickel spot. Do I think that that's probably his best position? Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he was coming into the league. Do I think that affects his money potentially because he's in a contract year himself? Okay, a lot of people are suggesting that the Cowboys could potentially be working him out at nickel simply because of the value of the position, which I strongly disagree. Okay, because of the discrepancy in pay. Jordan Lewis, the highest paid slot corner, makes $10 million per year. The highest paid outside corners are making 30. So the league, the NFL value of the cornerback position outside suggests that the outside corner is 3 times more valuable than the inside corner. I disagree. Strongly. Why? Because the NFL is ever evolving. Number one, X wide receivers, the CeeDee Lambs of the world, they're no longer just stuck and entrenched outside. Much like your premier pass rusher is no longer just stuck and entrenched on one position, one side of the edge, one side of the line of scrimmage. Okay? So slot corners nowadays, not only are they more involved, are they more involved in the running game in an ever-evolving NFL that is now prioritizing physicality because defense is adjusted and caught up to all the speed, the spread, the misdirection, and the motion, the pass-heavy offenses, right? Now we got linebackers that are running 4-3. We got edges that can drop back and cover, and we got 5 and 6 DBs on the field. Okay, so now teams like the Cowboys, right, they are getting more physical. They're building from within, inside, out. Okay, 300, 6'4", 6'5", 335 across the board. Left guard, center, right guard. People movers. Okay, so now slot corners are dealing with the run game much more often, and one that's trending towards physicality. You can have a power run game with 11 personnel. Ask the Rams. Ask the Niners. They do a lot of two-back stuff. They do a lot of two tight end stuff, but they also do a lot of 11 personnel. So not only are you dealing with the run game much more often, you're in the box much more often. You can't get your hands on guys and redirect them. There's no boundary to assist you. Receivers get two-way goes because there's no boundary to assist them. And on top of that, you're constantly dealing with motion, misdirection. And on top of that, it's the number one wide receiver now that's lining up across from you. You tell me how in the world that makes sense in anybody's head that the slot corner today is 3 times less valuable than the outside corners, the best ones. Needless to say, DaRon Bland's team is not worried about him playing in the slot this year, and the Cowboys using that as leverage against them with their contract extension negotiations. I promise you. Because he's already proven that he can be a record-setting all-pro outside as well. So that argument has never made sense to me. DaRon Bland's going to play in the nickel, probably to start off the season this year. Why? Because that's his best position. But the why is not because the Cowboys think they're going to get a discount as a result of that. This is a move that puts DaRon Bland in a more difficult position, in my opinion. Their best player in the most difficult position. That's the cornerback conundrum. The cornerback contingency is Stephon Gilmore. If Savone Revel Jr. is not right, which he is expected to be ready for camp, first round caliber talent at corner, fell to the third because of an ACL injury. Fantastic player. Freaky physical too. Unlike Trevon Diggs, he's an absolute thumper in the box. Okay. Kaiir Elam, the Reclamation Project, one of the stars of OTAs. Yes, I get it. OTAs don't mean anything. But if that situation somehow doesn't work the way the Cowboys hoped or thought, Stephon Gilmore. Trevon Diggs doesn't meet the lofty expectations that he's clearly setting for himself now to be back for week 1. Once again, being back physically does not mean being back to fully you. Getting cleared by the doctor, you still have a lot of work to do for that mind to trust that knee. The second one in 3 years. If for some reason that doesn't work out, the timeline that they're wanting, or when the timeline does work out, but he's not right up here, Stephon Gilmore. If for some reason the Savone Revel Jr. situation, he enters a setback of his own. He's not right because he's a rookie making the transition from college to pro, and not to mention mid-major, East Carolina. It's a big jump. It's not like he's coming over from the SEC. Had a ton of SEC offers, but that just goes to show you the character. You can read about that here as well. CowboysCountry.com. Just realized I'm not even sharing this tab with you guys. That's okay. Here's what I'm referring to, y'all. You can see it now. All this stuff is a factor here, but the underlying sentiment that I want people to take away from this. This news, realistic or not, for better or worse, for both sides, should not alter the potential decision to do your due diligence and spend a little bit extra, especially considering what we talked about this morning or this afternoon in the live. The fake salary cap and cap hell, dismissing that, urging the Joneses to keep up with the proverbial Joneses, or in this particular instance, the Howie Rosemans. Do not let this news prevent you, Jerry, Steven, Will, and company, from bringing in Jalen Ramsey if the price is right, from bringing in Jaire Alexander if the price is right. One guy you got to trade for, one guy you don't. Asante Samuel Jr., maybe that's the ticket. This news does not change the conundrum or the tricky situation that the Cowboys are still currently in at corner. It does not change. Now, it's still a wait and see approach. There's an evaluation period that's going to happen here. But don't let this news make us let them off the hook. Believe it or not, the fans do have a voice. And I want you guys to have a voice here too. So let me know what you think about all of this stuff. Hit me in the comments. Best place to interact with me throughout the day is on Twitter at The Lando Show. Assuming you're already subscribed, then the best way for you to help me out is to hit that thumbs up, that like button. All right. There are other means of supporting this channel. Always posted in the description. And thank you to the official partner of the Lando Show, getyourwaggle.com, Waggle Golf. I do run a golf business as well, co-founded and co-owned. And Waggle, I'm telling you, this is the most comfortable hoodie that I've ever put on. It's called the Lynx Lux hoodie. It's fantastic, but a little rain, little storm cell come through, a little rain, cooled the weather down a little bit. I was sitting outside a minute ago, and man, it was perfect. Perfect. It's like hoodie season all over again. Early spring or middle to late fall here in Texas. That's kind of what it felt like, but it was nice. Needless to say, thank you to Waggle. That code discounted. Waggle is also in the description as well. Okay. Making the push to 5K. All right. We're about 450 away. And I know that just with your support, right? I've done my part. Now I need you to do your part. Share this with a friend or hit that like button. Totally free. The best way to help me out. And it goes a long way. I promise you. Right. Remember that prayer changes things and the war is already won.